Hi, I'm May, and I'm in rehab right now. All because of my dad's crazy plans to make me a superstar. I've been making music and singing since I was a kid. I was surrounded by good teachers who I practiced with every day. I loved it. I dreamed of singing on stage like my mom Anthea used to sing back in the day. She was a bright star. Diplomas and awards hung on all the walls of our house. But the moment came, and she couldn't take the pressure, left show business, and then out of my life altogether. As my father explained, she had to improve her health. But I could realize how difficult it was for her only when I sang on the big stage myself. My dad had a friend, a rapper named Diego, who took on my promotion. But I thought that I was enslaved. I had to perform even when I was hungry and sick. Nobody asked me how I was doing. It was just a contract that had to be honored. Until I broke down. I was so exhausted I passed out. Dad put me in rehab and gave me time to recover. And then it was back to the stage. It turned out that I had to pay my father's debts because my mother had let him down and ruined him. And he is not my own father at all. See the beginning of this story at the link in the description of the video and subscribe to the channel. Hear only unique stories, and I will continue. It's really hard for me right now. I want to go on stage very much. But I won't be a slave. I even found a lawyer who agreed to protect my interests and forced my father to change the terms of the contract with me. A meeting was scheduled for today. My father, the lawyer, and me. Of course, I was worried. My father had connections, opportunities, and experience in this business, and a crazy desire to make millions off of me. And I was just a girl with a beautiful voice. After studying the contract, the lawyer thoughtfully rubbed his forehead and, secluded in a room with me, scribbled something in a notebook.
This amount of money is needed to start a case, and the case is not easy. And this sum of money,
he pointed with his eyes at the number with 5 zeros.
I will need to get the judge on my side. Do you have this kind of money?
I didn't say a word. Placing the business card in front of me, the lawyer walked out.
May, your fans have missed you. I hope you'll be back on stage in 2 weeks.
Dad couldn't hide his glee. He knew he had me in his hands.
And we will organize your triumphant return. Now get some rest.
His footsteps faded into the hallway, and I felt trapped. Knowing that my mom was also under my father's full control, somewhere in the hospital, I couldn't openly confront him. But what do I do?
Get off of me! Get your hands off me!
A loud voice shook me out of my daze. I opened the door, and a guy came at me. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw 2 orderlies rushing down the hall. "Shut up!" I whispered in the guy's ear. "Otherwise, they'll put you on sedatives and you'll be like a vegetable." The guy looked at me in surprise, but kept quiet. I nodded to the orderlies, saying everything was fine, and pulled the guy into the garden. "Behave yourself! It's better to be friends with them."
Who are you?
"Your face! I know your face!" I lowered my head. Of course, up until a couple weeks ago, I was a sensation. My songs were getting huge views on YouTube. Concert tickets were selling out in a matter of hours. But now it was painful to remember that. "You came at me. So you go first and tell me, how did you end up here?" Eric was brought here by his parents. According to the kid, they'd been in constant conflict lately. He was friends with some kids his mom didn't like. They liked it to hang out late and bring him drinks. I don't care for alcoholic drinks myself. It's interesting to hang out with the guys. They have their own rock band, and they took me on as a drummer. My parents supported me at first. They even organized a mini studio in the garage so that I could play. But after rehearsals, the guy liked to hang out till the morning, had loud parties. And last week, my parents ran out of patience. When my mom looked in the garage in the morning and saw the mountains of empty beer cans, my sleeping friends, she made a scene. She was afraid I was addicted to alcohol, even though I don't drink at all. They put a huge lock on the garage and brought me here. Eric looked at me questioningly, saying, "I've revealed everything. Now it's your turn." But then a nurse ran up to us and saved me from the revelation. May! You're going to see a psychologist! Let's go! I nodded to Eric and ran. Talking to the psychologist wasn't easy. We talked every other day, and the therapy really worked. But afterward, I spent a lot of time in my room. I told the psychologist about my fears of my father. It made me feel better, and it was the same this time. When you discuss the problems with a specialist, everything appears in a different light and doesn't look so terrible. I know who you are. May. You're the same May who blew up on YouTube. The girl with the sad face and the angelic voice. Unbelievable! The guys and I have been trying to learn your songs. Eric is standing on the doorstep of my room. Didn't they teach you to knock? I rebuked him, but he only smiled back. Sitting down beside me on the bed, Eric chattered away. And how he first heard my tracks. And how he watched one of my concerts on YouTube because he couldn't make it live. I'm in a rehab with a celebrity. That's awesome! But when Eric saw the tears in my eyes, he got cold feet. I'm sorry. You're here for a reason. I got a little carried away. A couple minutes later, we were walking down a moonlight alley. I didn't want to tell Eric anything in the room. And the walls have ears. He was silent for a long time after what we'd heard. We reached the lake. I often walked here alone. The area of the rehab was huge, and it was a place of solitude. So, in a couple of weeks, I'll have to go back to the stage and sing and smile. I'm contracted to work for my father for a year. He'll get his money back and leave me alone. I hope so. My voice trembled. Eric suddenly leaned over and put his arms around me, and I sobbed. I don't know how long it lasted, but Eric waited patiently for me to calm down, and I felt so good in his arms. Oh, thank you. And I'm sorry for dumping it all on you. But Eric wouldn't let me go. So we walked back in silence, hugging each other. It was late when we walked back into the building. The hallways were empty. Our rooms were on the same floor. We tiptoed around the corner, but then I heard soft laughter. A woman's laughter. And a hushed whisper. Down the hall was the psychologist's office. But Miss Randall, the psychologist who was interviewing me, never worked this late. I was a warning sign to Eric with my finger and pointed to the half door to Miss Randall's office. We walked right up to the door, and we heard voices. She's afraid of you. She realizes she's trapped. But I'm convincing her that you only want the best for her.
Keep it up. She has to listen to me and be grateful for everything.
Next, Miss Randall giggled strangely, and I heard the sound of a kiss. Abruptly opening the door to the psychologist's office, I coldly threw it at the man's back. Hello, Daddy. Oh yeah, standing in front of me was the father who just a moment ago was hugging and kissing Miss Randall. You'd do anything to have complete control over me, even an affair with a psychologist. She leaks information about me to you, don't you? What did you promise her in return, huh?
Don't be rude, May. It's worse for you.
And that's when he changed his face. Eric stepped forward. He grabbed my hand tightly and looked at my father defiantly. Hello, Mr. Lin. My heart dropped. You two know each other?
Eric! Didn't expect you to see here. How's Mom? And Dad? Haven't seen him in ages.
Now you'll see each other, and very soon. He'll be defending May's interests, and I'm sure he'll win the case. It's a good thing Eric had a firm grip on my hand. I was one step away from fainting. My head was buzzing with thoughts. Who is Eric? How does he know my dad? And who is Eric's dad? Dad hummed meaningfully and quickly walked out of the office. Miss Randall ran after him, and Eric held me to his chest and whispered, Don't be scared. You're not alone now. My dad's the best lawyer in the state. Unfair contracts between producers and their clients are his specialty, and they have a history with your father. I'm gonna make sure your case is won. My case was tried in court behind closed doors. I had to wait for 6 months. But now, I'm free. My contract's been canceled. I got to see my mom. She's in a locked facility, but she's fine, as far as I can tell. And I'm rehearsing in Eric's garage. He reconciled with his parents, got a new band together, and we're organizing our first gig soon. I'm so happy! I hope you saw the rest of the story. It teaches you not to lose heart, not to give up, but to stand your ground no matter how hard it is. And I wish you to always be brave and determined. May, good name. Short and sonorous. He looked at me appraisingly. Like in a store when you choose a toy or stock item, and no one would have guessed that this is a father's look at his only daughter. Hello, I'm not allowed to give my real name at all. The contract is prohibited, but I'll tell you, to not forget who I am. Alexandra, the usual normal name for an ordinary girl from Colorado. A year ago, I lived in the suburbs and was very happy. Mom and Dad loved me, spoiled me, protected me from everything. But one night changed everything. At that moment, I realized that everything was a sham and that nothing can be changed. For now, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell, and I will have the courage to tell you all the details. From childhood, my father always told me that I have a wonderful voice. There was a piano in the living room, and I often played music on it. Vocal and instrumental teachers came to me. I practiced almost every day. I liked it, but nothing more. But Dad always motivated and praised me. You must work hard, develop your talent. And I worked. I didn't want to disappoint Dad. I am his smart and beautiful girl. But my mother, she rarely left the bedroom in recent years. She was tormented by a migraine, then insomnia. But on those rare days when my mother still sat on the terrace with a glass of wine, I was very worried. After all, a couple of years ago, my mother was a very popular singer, and my dad produced it. All the walls in the house were covered with diplomas, awards, and photos of a happy and beautiful mother on stage. I read about her on the internet, since my mother herself never told me anything. And why her career ended so abruptly, I did not know. When I asked Dad about this, he only gently hugged me and said that Mom was tired, so she decided to take a break from the stage. One night, I woke up from a strange noise. It's like something has broken. I flew out of the room, went down to the first floor, and heard my mom arguing with my dad. I hate you! Do you hear? I hate you for ruining my life, Diego! But I won't let you do the same to her! I saw how Dad came close to Mom, grabbed her by the arms, and forced her to sit on the sofa. She began to sob. Dad handed her a glass of water and a handful of pills that magically appeared in his palm. He did not shout, did not swear, but whispered with restraint. You are just tired, Anthea. Drink. Everything will pass. Stop calling me that! I'm not Anthea! This is what you came up with! It's all lies! My mother yelled so much. I have never seen her like that. But then, Mom went limp, buried her nose in Dad's shoulder. He stubbornly handed her the pills. Mom drank them in one gulp. And after about 15 minutes, Dad picked her up, already half asleep, and carried her to the second floor. I pressed myself against the wall so that he would not notice me. This case was a turning point. I never saw my mother again. Dad said that Mom needed to rest, so she went to the boarding house to heal her nerves. From that day on, I began to study vocals even harder. Stage skills were needed, and there was very little time for school and homework. Dad transferred me to homeschooling, noting that soon I would not need it either. One evening, my father asked me to dress nicely and style my hair. He said he was expecting guests, and I had to make a good impression. The outfit itself, and it was a short leather dress with a corset, looked rather defiant. I realized this when I went downstairs, and everyone in the living room was silent. Dad was sitting on the couch, and next to him was another man in dark glasses. He looked like a rapper. Baggy clothes, a big chain around his neck. He whistled when he saw and nodded to Dad.
Not bad, Diego. What can she do?
Dad looked at me expressively, like, come on, show me what you have been studying all this time. I played the piano, sang, showed some dance moves, and even paraded a bit. I was terribly uncomfortable. That uncle with glasses was looking at me without looking up, but I didn't want to let my dad down either. After my performance, Dad nodded for me to leave, but crouching in the hallway, I heard Dad urge his friend.
She can. You will see. Give her a chance.
And now I'm sitting in the office of that rapper. It turned out that he had his own studio, and Dad signed a contract with him for a year, and together they will promote me as a singer. From now on, I am no longer Alexa, but May, a sweet-voiced girl with a sad face. I didn't know how to react to this. On the other hand, to become popular, recognizable, every girl of my age dreams of this. But on the other hand, I had no choice. Dad decided everything for me, and now even Mom was not there to take my side. Endless rehearsals began. Learning a song for recording the first single. Choreography, several photo shoots. Dad paid in various editions of promotional articles about me. I was put on a strict diet to get leaner, plus sports. I got up very early and went to bed after midnight to do everything. Dad controlled my every move. And somehow he suddenly began to demand a lot for me, not really choosing words. He used to cheer me up, praise me, but now I was a complete non-entity on which he spends precious time. Maybe the other would have burst into tears, rebelled, or simply turned around and left. But I only clenched my teeth tighter and worked. The advertising worked. The first single was recorded, and it went well to the public. The song stayed at the top of the charts for 2 weeks, and my dad wanted more. He decided to record a few more songs in a month and go on a little tour with me.
We will choose small halls to fill them to capacity. A photographer will follow you on your heels, fixing your every step and posting everything on social media networks. Subscribers like to spy on the lives of famous people, and we will give them a chance.
Dad's eyes were burning, and my head was cracking. I wanted to have a normal meal and sleep. I was like a robot that just followed other people's commands. The tour has begun. 5 cities, 5 concerts, and 5 sold out. The audience went crazy. I could hardly understand where I was and what was happening to me. Stage costumes were already hanging on me with a rag. I could hardly stop the trembling in my hands from constant hunger. But Dad didn't notice. He rejoiced and handed out interviews left and right. Before the final concert in New York, I felt really bad. I was nervous. It was the largest hall for 20,000 people. And I'm fucking tired. Plus, I caught a cold. I was shivering all night. The performance was scheduled for 7 o'clock. I had a dress rehearsal and had lemon tea in the dressing room to soothe my sore throat. There were 2 hours left before the concert. Dad ran in and said that a lot of people had gathered outside.
They're chanting your name, do you hear? This is a resounding success. I've already signed a contract for the next tour, May.
And then I could not stand it. Nerves gone. Dad, I can't. I'm very tired. I need some rest. My father boiled over and said contemptuously,
I wouldn't let you ruin everything. Stop whining. Get it together.
But I couldn't calm down. The head began to spin, and I lost consciousness. I woke up from the fact that someone whispered over to me. She needs to go to the hospital. She has a fever and several exhaustion. As if through a fog, I heard the cry of my father. He was outraged.
Give her something. Concert starts in 15 minutes. We won't cancel anything. Let it perform.
Dad, I have no strength. I'll fall right there on the stage.
Enough. You are already a grown girl, so it's time for you to find out the truth.
And Dad told me that I'm not his daughter. When he met my mother, I was a few months old. And while my mother was building a career as a singer, I was raised by a nanny. And then my mother could not stand this crazy schedule and left the race. And he invested a lot of money on it and burned out. And now it's my turn to repay her debts. Now I'm in rehab.
Diego gave me a month to recover, and then I have to get back to work. He has a contract. But I won't give up so easily. I spent a week here, calmed down a little. I talked to someone, and I hired a lawyer who will protect my interests. I'm ready to get back on stage, but on my own terms. I won't give up like a mother. I will fight for myself. Support me with a comment. And I think you will hear the continuation of this story soon.